Yo, what is going on, guys? Hutcho322 here, and I am your coach of the Portland Timbers in the All-Star Showdown League, the ASL, and we have our ASL Season 5 review here for the Portland Timbers, the team that I coach. And, yeah, so if you guys did not see our last ASL video, we did lose in the wild card round 2-0 to TJ. Slurpuff was so close. And, to be fair, if we won, it would have been completely unfair, because he would have had to miss a gong shot, but... So we're here, and going to be recapping this entire season of the ASL, just looking back on things, looking at Mon's stats, looking at our stats. And yeah, let's just go and hop into the first slide. We got how we did in the regular season. So pretty much just shows our record, our differential, what seed we ended up with, and just how we did throughout the season. It's nice. We only had one skid where we lost more than one game in a row, and then we picked it right back up and won 3 in a row. Let me see if I can think of like the highlights of each game. I know against TCP, I'm pretty sure it was Lycanroc that put in the work. Killed a bunch of Mons. I know we won that game 4-0. Against Malone, was that just Drill putting on work? Like, I know Drill destroyed his team. We got our next prediction with Scrafty with the Iron Head. All I remember is Drill. I don't know if Drill actually got any kills. Anywho, against Shadow, that was a really close game. He played that really well, and it just came down to Swellow destroying my entire team. Against Ian, oh my god, we had the special Dragon Dance set. Oh, what a dream that set was. Against Keister, we used pretty much just our wall core to perfection, and just he was not able to break through that. Then we lost to EN. Oh my god, I have never seen him get this lucky in a draft league game. He landed 5 blizzards in a row, along with landing 2 out of 3 focus blasts, I think it was. That was an insane game, to say the least. AZ, then to be fair, we got unlucky in week 6, and then in week 7 we got all our luck back, because then Drill was like flinching people, like doing the most, killing everyone. So that was nice. And after that's when our season took a turn for the worst. We got utterly destroyed by the league's MVP Komao, and then by Cam, which he outplayed us to a degree. The hacks didn't help at all, but he did play that game well, and we were not able to do anything. Came down to like whether he was going to pursue me with his Absol or not, and ultimately lost my Zard and lost the game. Against Milan was bringing those funky sets, like he had the double setup Coco, and then Zard eventually just wrecked his team, the mix Zard. Then against Gran, oh, Zygarde 10% came in the clutch. That's where like Zygarde got like half of his kills just from that game. I got the nice roll into the Empoleon. And then against the Master, Keldeo was very good at forcing his team into a lot of tough situations with the Scarf Manaphy, Scarf Porygon. And then against Suzy, you already know, 6%. So this is not the best season that I've ever had. It would have been the best season I've ever had if I won one more game, because in the past my best is 9-4 with a plus 16. So if I'm 8-5 with a plus 16, all I had to do was literally win one game, and I would have been at my peak of the ASL. But yeah, it's unfortunate, but I'm not mad about the season. I didn't really love the team anyways, so that's not a bad record for considering how hard it was to use my team. And then the postseason, like I said, we lost in the first round. We got 6th place. We lost 0-2 to TJ. Slurpuff was so close. If he would have missed one gunk shot, we would have had a chance. But I can't hope for a gunk shot miss. I really can't. That's just no thanks. But yeah, it sucks. But I mean, I got to actually enjoy the playoffs and root for my man Ian, who you guys should have already seen the finals by now. But he came so close. Props to Ian on that. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it sucks to lose. You never want to lose important games, but it was nice to finally watch the playoffs from a different view. It's like I get to just enjoy the playoffs for what it is instead of having to stress over like matches in the playoffs. So I didn't actually hate it all that much. So yeah. Let's just go ahead and move on to the stats of the individual mons. Our first overall pick was Excadrill, the janitor, and these kills and deaths and everything, all the stats count for all the season plus playoffs. So throughout all these games, Excadrill went 11 and 8 for a +3. It was brought to 11 out of 14 games, and it won 6 of them. So you're gonna see a lot of my games won are kind of low. This is one of the higher games won. I think this is like the second highest games won. So Excadrill's impact was definitely made. I don't know if I would draft it again in the way that I drafted it for this team. I don't hate the way that I draft it because it aids the Zard Y pretty good by being able to rapid spin. I just don't think sand is that good anymore, if I'm being 100% honest. Like, I felt a lot of the times it was hard to bring sand. Plus, I don't think weather is the best for my the weather is best for my playstyle, which is why I just brought drill as drill for a bunch of times. I would bring like assault vest, I brought a leftover sometimes, or I would just straight up bring offensive without sand. It's just how I would roll sometimes. Yeah, I just don't think sand is that great, but Excadrill is still a fantastic mon. I would definitely consider drafting it in the future. It's great at hazard control, it's great at wall breaking, and it has a pretty good typing defensively. So it takes on electric types with ease. It can take on fairy types really well, poison types really well. You name it, bug types. Just there's so many more, but yeah, Excadrill was a pretty good mon. Not really disappointed about how it did because, like I said, I brought it defensive sometimes, so those 8 deaths are fine, and it got over the 10 kill mark, so I'm cool with it being my first overall pick. And moving on to the true MVP of the team, we got Spitfire, our Mega Charizard Y. It was our second pick, and going into the season, I knew this thing was going to claim kills. Its stats are just ridiculous. 159 special attack and the ability to take special hits. That's just so good. It went 15 and 7, and it got +8 with the differential. It was brought to 10 games, and it won 4 of them, so it won half my games. And it was nominated for the best offensive mon. Didn't win, but it was nominated. And yeah, it's actually surprising how I brought it to 10 games and only won 4 of them, so only half my wins came from Zard Y. Very interesting. But yeah, Zard Y. If you guys are considering Zard X over Zard Y, don't. This thing is so much better than Zard X. But if you like setup more, then go for Zard X. But if you're like me, who just likes to run wall breakers and destroy stuff instantly, Zard Y is the way to go. This thing is so powerful. Yeah, probably the best game that I had with it is when I beat Ian, used special Dragon Dance set, and just destroyed with this thing. We got like 5 kills against Milan as well. It's just, this mon is so fantastic, and the support of drill is really helpful because yes, it's a big rocks weakness, but to be fair, I'm pretty much known for bringing rock weak mons in the past. Like season 3, Mega Pinsir was one of my best mons, and that's 4 times weak to rocks too. So don't be afraid of the 4 times weak to rocks. And I would definitely consider drafting this thing again. I mean, maybe on a similar team, but I would get more pivoting because that's the biggest thing about my team. I didn't have any pivoting, so it was a lot harder to bring this thing in safely. And yeah, moving on to the third mon that we had Keldeo, Lil Sebastian, and it went 8 and 8 in 10 games, and it won 5 of those games. So Keldeo was an interesting mon. See, it was really hit or miss, like some games, because it had so many deaths, because it would usually be my sack when I think something was going to Z-move me. Because Keldeo just had a niche spot on the team. I don't know if I would draft it again. I would definitely consider it. It's a really good mon. It had good games, like I said. But yeah, it's just kind of interesting. I don't really like it on my team per se. But yeah, I mean, we had some good games against a master. It was really good. It had good matchups against TJ both times, but got obliterated by Komodo. It got one shot by Komodo both games. So its best matchup, it couldn't do anything, which is really unfortunate. But yeah, I mean, it finished 500 if you're looking at this from a baseball perspective, I mean, it had 8 kills and 8 deaths, so not negative. I'll take that. And yeah, like I said, I'd probably draft it on a different team. I don't know if I like the synergy between I like the synergy. Excuse me. The synergy between Drill is kind of redundant. The synergy between Zard is a little bit better. But yeah. And then we have the start of our wall core. Our 4th pick, Amoongus. We had Poison Ivy. And this thing has the most games won. So 7 of the 8 games that I won this season, I brought Amoongus. There was only one game that I brought this thing to where I lost. This thing is amazing. Amoongus is so good. It's very one-dimensional a lot of the times. Like, the only, like, tech you're going to run is, like, a Hidden Power Fire. You're going to run, like, Stomping Tantrum, Foul Play. Other than that, you're going to run, like, Giga Drain, Sludge Bomb, Spore, or, if not Spore, Synth. Or if you're running Assault Vest, you're probably going to run, like, Clear Smog or something. But yeah, it's pretty one-dimensional, but that's just because it's so good at what it does. It went 7-3. For a defensive mon, that's really good. It only died in 3 of the 8 games that it came to. And it was nominated for Best Defensive. Again, didn't win, but it was nominated. And yeah, this was definitely a mon I would consider drafting in the future because a lot of my teams, what I like to draft is I like to draft wall breakers, pivots, and a synergistic wall core. I had a really synergistic wall core. I had wall breakers. The only thing that I was missing was, like, not necessarily pivots, but things just grab momentum, like volt switches, U-turns. This thing is a good pivot. It just doesn't get momentum unless you play it 100% correctly. It's harder to get momentum with this thing though. It was still a fantastic mon regardless, and I would definitely draft it in the future. So this would have been our 5th pick, but we actually got Slowbro traded to us from the Arcane Arcanines. Ian traded this thing to us in week 1 or 2. It was one of the 2. But yeah, we got Mondays, our Slowbro. He went 3-6, so not the greatest, but you know, it's not horrible. He was brought to 10 games and won 4 of them, so you can see that Amoongus was drastically better than Slowbro of the 2. But I was able to bring Slowbro to much more games. And yeah, I mean, I've always been a huge fan of Slowbro and Slowking. Season 1, I used Slowbro. Season 3, I didn't use either of them. But Season 4, I used Slowking, and Season 5, I'm using Slowbro again. So of the 5 ASL seasons, I've used a Slowbro or Slowking in 3 of them. And I actually used Slowbro and Slowking in the same season, this season. But yeah, I think it's better than Slowking at the team that I had, because paired with Amoongus has better better special defense. And it helps to have Slowbro with that big physical wall. I mean, Slowbro did put in work when it could. It was so close to winning the game against Shadow. It just needed a little bit more health. But yeah, I've never really had disappointments with Slowbro and Slowking, and I'm definitely going to draft them in the future just because they are fantastic mons. And yeah, they're just so solid and so reliable. I mean, you got reliable recovery, you got regenerator, you got usable special attack, so you're not setup fodder. Decent coverage. This thing's got pretty good coverage. And I was sad that I never got to bring a belly drum set, but you know, we did what we could with it when we could. And moving on to our 6th pick, we have Zygarde 10% Guardian, which was nominated for the best 7th mon. Again, did not win. We only won 1 award, which the award that we won was the hardest team to prep for. So I guess it's fitting that I'm running through my team. And yeah, Zygarde 10% was a really good mon. I mean, I went into the season having high hopes for this thing just to come for like a couple of niche games and pick up some kills, and that's exactly what it did. I went 8-4, so that's pretty solid. It died in almost every game that it came to. I mean, came to 6 games, won 5 of them. That's pretty good. It was a very good mon. And yeah, I love this mon. I would definitely draft it in the future. In my opinion, I think it's better than Zygarde 50% just for the way that I play. You know, I don't like playing in the way that I have to set up. Plus, I like the immediate speed from Zygarde 10%. I think it's a lot better. It can't click Dragon Dances safely. You're pretty much just gonna run Band every single week, unless you want to run like a Z move, which this wasn't my Z user, so couldn't run it. My Z users were Keldeo and Lycanroc Day, but yeah, this thing was really good. One of the best seventh mons for a reason. Brought it less than half the games, and it put in work. Especially the game against Gran, where we got I think 4 kills in one game, and ultimately won the game because of this thing. So yeah, that was pretty hype. And yeah, really no complaints. I would definitely consider drafting it in the future. And time to go to our almost savior, which would have been our 7th pick, but it is a free agent pickup. And we got Slurpuff, Strudel the Slurpuff, when we dropped Fortress, because we needed a good fairy type, and Slurpuff provided that. It really did. It was brought to 4 games, and it won 3 of them. The only one that didn't win was the playoff game. So anytime that I brought this in regular season, we won the game. I need to be smarter about my drafts. To be fair, I had stuff planned out, but didn't pan out because I was sniped so many times. So I kind of had to make my draft on the fly, and that's kind of reflecting in how poorly constructed it was. But yeah, we have Slurpuff, which was a really good defensive fairy. Slurpuff is a really, really good mon. I only brought like Sticky Webs once, and it still put in work all of the time. It's such a good defensive mon because Unburden is highly underrated as a defensive mon. Because you think about it, like I was trying to do this against the Komao and the Latias. With Latias, I'd try and bring a Citrus Berry so that once I took a hit, I would be faster than it, or when Komoho would hit me with a super effective hit, I'd be faster than it. So I tried to do that a bunch of times, and it's really underrated as defensive because then you're faster and you can hit them with a super effective hit, or you can wish before they can hit you again, and it's really powerful to have that. So yeah, Slurpuff I would 100% draft it in the future. Maybe I'd get a higher up fairy, and maybe I'd finally learn my lesson from this and draft a good fairy, but one can only hope, right? And then for our 8th pick, we had Gigalith Quartz. This wasn't my 8th pick. I don't even know. Whatever. Pretend it was. I know it was my 12th pick, but just pretend it was. It's whatever, man. And so we have Gigalith, our Quartz here. It went 6-6 in 8 games, and it won 5 of those games. So Gigalith was really good. In regular season, it was brought to 7 games and won 5 of them. So, yeah. Gigalith was a really good defensive backbone. Like, even if you're not going to draft Sand, like, obviously I drafted this with the intentions of bringing Sand for my drill. But even if you're not going to get Sand, this thing is still fantastic. It's still very, very good. Because the Sandstorm raises its special defense because it's a rock type. And it already has fantastic physical defense. This mon can be designed to take one of almost anything. So if you're looking for a good defensive rock type, Gigalith is the way to go. As long as you're willing to pay the price for it. Usually in like GBA standard tiers, it's like tier 4 or something. But yeah, this is a mon I would definitely draft again, even if I am not using a Sand team, just because I mean 6-6 for a mon that is an obligatory Sand user is pretty good. Yeah, and its shiny is dope, so you might as well just get it for that. And then with our 9th pick, we had Scrafty need a belt, and he definitely does. And he went 5-4 in 6 games. He only won 2 of those games. That was unfortunate. Yeah, Scrafty was not a part of a whole lot of wins here. But yeah, 5-4 is not bad at all. I mean, I think that's good games were against AZ. AZ, it picked up like 3 kills in that game. Yes. And I don't know the other game that it did well in, or at least the other game that I even won. But yeah, Scrafty is a really, really good dark type. Its versatility is surprisingly vast. It's got a decent move pool, good coverage. Intimidate is very, very helpful, and then the fact that it can get Moxie and set up with Dragon Dance, it's just a dual threat in that sense. I mean, it sucks that it's dual weak to fairy, but if you really think about it, it only has two weaknesses beyond fairy, which is, I believe, just fighting and flying. And of course fairy, but we're saying non-fairy, and you can't run hidden power fairy. That's not a thing. So this thing is really, really good. I mean, it was my answer to checking the Latios and Latios when I played them respectively. And Scrafty tried to put in work. It sucks that it didn't win that many games, but it was definitely a fun mon to use for sure. And then we have Electivire, our JJ Watt. JJ Watt, our Electivire. 2 and 3, so it didn't have the best KD. But in 3 games, it won 2 of them, which is pretty good. I think it won the game against Ian and the game against Milan. Pretty sure. But this thing was at the end of everything, was the only Volt Switcher on my team. And I mean, it served its purpose when it needed to. I brought it against Ian to try and take down the Finny, and I mean, I at least chipped through his team a little bit, and then I brought it against Milan to try and take on the Suicune, which it did pretty well. So I mean, when I brought it, it did what it was intended to. It's just, I wish it was a Mon where I could have brought it a lot more, because it truly is a really good Mon. It has a really high attack stat. It has the same attack stat as Emboar, just doesn't have the Reckless if you want to look at it like that. But yeah, it's definitely a Mon. I got to draft in the future, and I got to draft it on a team that can use it a lot more, because it's very versatile too. It's got all the punching moves. It's got Earthquake, Cross Chop, and then a bunch of other special moves, predominantly a physical attacker, but yeah. And going into our 11th pick, we have Lycanroc Day Ruffles. Went 2 and 1 in 3 games, won all 3 of those games. So this is the only Mon, I think, besides Slowking? Yeah, the only Mon besides Slowking that won every game that it was brought to, but Slowking was only brought to 1 game, so there you go. But yeah, this thing was clutch week 1. It got 2 kills week 1, 2 important kills. And then against a master, it was good. In theory, it was good in theory, but then he brought Steelix, and I just wasn't able to break through that thing, so this thing kind of did nothing. Just swapped into P2 a couple times. Not P2, PZ. But, yeah, I mean, I kind of regret putting the Lycanium Z on it. I probably should have put the Z move on... I would have kept it on Keldeo, and I probably would have put it on... I don't know, Zygarde? I don't know, I'm not that big of a Z user, so it's all good. It doesn't really matter. This thing did pretty good when I needed it to, though. Like I said, against a master, it worked in theory. And yeah, the only death was just sacking it in that game. Otherwise, it would have had 0 deaths on the season, which would have been really cool. But yeah, this Mon is very, very good. It's just the only thing that sucks for it is its coverage. But to be honest, the coverage isn't horrible. It's just a little bit to be desired. But you can just nuke things with like SD, Lycanium Z. It just hits so hard. And then for our last Mon that we had on the actual roster, we had Kecleon, Yoshi, free agent pickup. We picked it up, I want to say, in week 5 or 6. We brought it to 1 game, the game that we lost against EN. We were trying to check the Deoxys speed, which we kind of did to a degree. So that was nice. I wanted to bring Kecleon more. That was pretty much the biggest reason I picked up Kecleon, was to try and take on the Deoxys speed. But I was thinking, oh, maybe there's going to be a game where Kecleon can actually put in some work. But I never really found a spot on the team for it. But it's just a really bulky Mon. Good coverage. Protean is just fantastic. If you're able to work with the mechanics correctly, this Mon can just put in so much work. It's just like I said, I could never really find a spot on the team for it each week, which was unfortunate because, again, it's a very good Mon. Knockoff spam is nice, but I had Scrafty for knockoff spam, and Scrafty would handle a lot of the psychic types that I would... Honestly, I shouldn't have drafted Kecleon. I should have probably just kept Braviary, but, you know, because Scrafty handled most of it, but I was just so concerned, like, oh, well, Scrafty's going to take a Focus Blast, and this thing can just turn into a Ghost type. But, yeah, not bad. And then for our 5th pick that we dropped, like, after week 1, We have Slowking. Levi's our Slowking. It went 2-0 and went to one game and won one game. I only brought it to the game against TCP where it got 2 kills. It killed the Zygarde and something else. I know it killed the Zygarde, but I don't know what else it killed. But I pretty much just dropped this thing. I have nothing against Slowking. It's a fantastic mon. Of course, I drafted in the future. I dropped it because Amoonguss and Slowking are both more specially oriented. So if there's a strong physical attacker, my team would have struggled a little bit more with it. So having my Slowbro was a lot better because Slowbro has 30 more physical defense, and this thing just has 30 more special defense. So I felt like that was a little bit better. And yeah, I was able to help me out. And even if I would have had Slowking for the whole season, I think we still would have been fine. And I'll draft you soon in the future, Slowking. Don't worry. But next, we have Old Goldie, our Fortress, a mon that I've used extensively, and I think that's going to come to an end. It was our 7th pick. I got it because it was just another rapid spinner plus a steel type that was able to be more defensive, but just I can't draft this thing again. It really costed me. Like, I figured I could play around with Fortress being passive. I've been able to do it in the past. I know Fortress is passive. But I've been able to bring like cool sets to work around that, but this season 0-4, it was brought to 4 games, literally only won one of them. It sucks because I do really like Fortress. It's just its setup fodder is tremendous. I mean, the biggest issue was Komodo. In theory, the set would have worked, but I got high rolled, so yay me. We had red card Fortress, and it just was not able to come through, and that ultimately lost us the game indefinitely. I might have still lost the game, but that indefinitely closed the game out, but yeah. And then for our last mon, it was our 12th pick. We have America, our Braviary. And yeah, didn't bring it to a single game. It's kind of hard to bring it to a single game when you have a Zard Y sitting right there that does a lot of similar things. But, you know, I wanted this thing to do good. I got it with the intentions of, oh, it's got U-turn. It's got an even harder hitting bird spam. It's got normal spam. It's going to be great. It's got defog, all that. But I felt like Kecleon was going to be the better move. I mean, maybe that was the wrong decision, and I should have kept Braviary. But, yeah, it's fine. I'll draft Braviary in the future. It's a good mon. It really is. But, yeah. That's pretty much going to wrap it up for the ASL Season 5 season for your Portland Timbers in review. And we'll be back in Season 6, gunning for that trophy yet again. Been so close so many times, but we're going to try and get it this next season. Hopefully. I'll be drafting a better team in the future, assuming I don't get sniped multiple times. So I'm going to build multiple draft boards. But yeah, it's been a great season. I know we've had our ups and downs throughout the entire thing just because of uploading and all that, but yeah, thank you guys for sticking with us throughout this season. And yeah, we'll see you guys in the next season of the ASL or the next video. And goodbye.